Dahil tapos na ang ECQ, it's time for BBQ! Ang lulutuin natin ngayon ay ding 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 ding. So pwede nyo ilagay dito. So wala akong rules talaga. So depending on the... Dahil tapos na ang ECQ, it's time for BBQ! Good day mga ka-Simpol! Nandito naman tayo sa ating paboritong online cooking show na umi-ere kahit walang franchise. Yan, nandito tayo ngayon at magluluto tayo! Di ba, magluluto tayo kasi masarap kumain kahit na anong panahon, happy days, sad days, kailangan happy tayo na kumain. So, ito ngayon gagawin natin kasi sinabi ng doktor ko na kailangan ko mag-diet. So, yung kinakain ko ngayon, medyo pa-healthy ko, no? So, yung gagawin kong isang dish natin ngayon ay isang grilled chicken salad. Kasi, for me, kasi kailangan kahit salad siya, medyo balanced na siya. So, that I can have a whole meal in itself. So, isang dish lang siya, pero busog na ako. Kasi, nagda-diet nga ako. Kasi, kailangan ko mag-trim down ng a little weight. Pero, gagawa din tayo ng pangalawang dish, ang ating pasta dish, ang ating main course, which is simple pasta dish using Spanish sardines. I just like to say hi muna sa mga taong nanonood sa atin ngayon. Benedict, Bernardino, miss ko na yung halayan ng mama mo. Then si Dungo and Evangelista family of Santa Cruz, Laguna, Lori Marcelo of Puerto Galera, Gretchen Cubar of Cebu City. Hello, taga Cebu. Kumusta mo diha? Oh, ang dami nating greets. Main Magana of Muntinlupa, Perosilio family from General Trias, Cavite, Hebulan family of Angeles City. Alam mo, ang dami nang nagpapag-greet sa atin. Kasi napapansin nila, pag may na-plug na kami na may live tayo on a Saturday, a day before, nagsisend na sila ng mga message sa amin, uy, pag-greet. So kung gusto nyong mag-greet, pa-shoutout dito, a day in advance, para masulat na natin kaagad yung mga greetings nyo. De La Cruz family of Makati, Santos family of Taguig City, Kim Santos of Bahrain, o di ba, international, di ba? Then, Lizelle Garciano of Bakasu? Saan ba yan? Hello Kitty Diaries. Si Hello Kitty Diaries, lagi talaga yung gumagawa. Halos araw-araw, may luto siya na recipe sa Simpol. Si Daryl Melody, Papa Nestor Tagalog, Beth Barbon, Luz Balingit. Hello Luz, kumusta kayo dyan sa kabilang channel? Yan, happy pa rin tayo. And today, mag-announce tayo ng winner ng ating Week 10 ng My Simpol version. Kasi, alam mo, every week dumadami nagpapadala ng ating mga entries ng My Simpol version. Kasi, parang feeling ko, ginaganahan kayo magluto dahil sa Simpol. Kaya, after this, no, may bago tayong promo na naman. May bago naman kaming promo para sa inyo. After My Simpol version pa rin ba? At may bago kaming promo at may bago naman kaming pa-premyo. Pa-teaser lang, di ba? Ten, 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 ten. Meron na tayong Simpol aprons. Yan! Woo! So, pag may gusto kayo, pag PM kayo, I don't know if you're selling it, first natin gagawin nating price, ating promo. Pero eventually, siguro, pag yung mga gusto mag-order, PM lang kayo. Baka magbenta na rin kami kung maraming may gusto sa ating aprons, Simpol aprons. Ngayon, sisimulan na natin pagluto. Are you ready, guys? Feeling healthy tayo today. So, I'm using chicken breast from Fresh Options. Yung gusto ko sa chicken breast sa Fresh Options, or yung chicken nila kasi, dumadating sa kanila fresh, hindi frozen. No? So, madali siya. No? You can just store it in your chiller, naka-individually pack or whatever. So, ito siya. Meron akong chicken breast. I just season with salt. Yan, salt and pepper. So, I'm doing like a chopped salad. No? Ibig sabihin ng chopped salad, everything na ingredients mo is just chopped up na medyo pareho-pareho yung size. So, that when you eat it, you can just mix it up and toss it. Salt, pepper. Generous, dapat generous tayo mag-salt and pepper. Yan. Salt and pepper. Then, I will also season with a little bit of herbs para may konti naman tayong flavor. So, meron ako dito, konting rosemary. Ako gusto ko medyo well-seasoned para may lasa yung aking food. Meron akong dried basil and rosemary. Yan, I just break the rosemary para lumabas talaga yung aroma niya. And I drizzle a bit of olive oil, no? Just a little bit of olive oil. And lemon. No? I'll use half a lemon. And squeeze it here. Yan. And turn it over. Yan. Marinate. So we can marinate very quickly kasi filet siya. Manipis lang naman siya. Just, let it soak up that marinade. You can keep it for around 5 minutes or so. Pero otherwise, di mo na siya kailangan i-marinate ng matagal. And meron akong grill pan dito, very hot already. And I'm just going to grill. Yan. You want to hear the sizzle when you are grilling. Bakit? Because that will give flavor. Kasi akala natin yung pagluluto, luto lang. Pero alam mo, yung brown marks. Kaya pag kumakain kasi tayo, sinasabi natin, ang gusto ko yung may tutong, gusto ko yung medyo brown. Because when you cook in a high temperature, kagaya nito, nilagay ko, nag-sear siya, ibig sabihin, nagde-develop yung flavor, nagkakaroon ng tinatawag na caramelization or may chemical reaction na Maillard reaction that creates parang mas malinamnam. Kaya di ba, for example, nagluluto tayo ng leche flan, yung leche flan natin, hindi lang siya matamis, di ba? Yung arnibal sa baba, nawawala yung tamis, nagiging mas malinamnam siya. Yun ang effect, kaya gusto natin yung balat ng lechon, gusto natin yung turon, gusto natin ng ganun. So we just let that grill for, around 3 to 4 minutes on each side. And, ihanda ko na rin yung aking mga greens. So, meron akong mix of just romaine and some lettuce, no? Just chop it kasi it's a chopped salad. Just chop it. Yan. So, ito siguro is a good for 2, no? Lettuce, good for 2. Yan. Ready to plate. Yan. Put it under. Make it a bed of ang ating greens. So, serves 2 to 3. For example, kung ito lang yung kakainin mo, kasya na siguro to sa 2 tao. No? And we can have some hard-boiled eggs. So, ang key talaga natin is just to chop everything, no, into small pieces. Yan. And arrange it over our salad. Yan. Yan. So, para kayong kumain ng medyo social na restaurant, no? I can have chickpeas, garbanzos. Kung wala, ayaw, wag niyo. Kasi ako, I want it to be a very hearty salad. Kasi ito lang ang kakainin ko. And some sweet corn. Some avocado, kasi in season yung avocado. Just arrange it around. Yan. Look at that. And, yan. So when you're making a salad, it doesn't have to be boring. You can make it fun by adding a lot of components and ingredients. I have a tomato. Yan. Remove natin yung seeds. Usually, pag kumakain tayo ng tomatoes, especially if you're eating it raw, you remove the seeds. Kasi some people say na parang tumutubo sa tiyan, pero hindi naman totoo yan. Pero some people really like the seeds off, especially pag it's eaten raw. And also, hindi nagiging watery yung ating salad. No? Kasi the membrane will disintegrate as it sits. No? So, pero pag nagigisa ka, always you add the seeds kasi doon nanggagaling yung linamnam. Yan. 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 Hello, Mr. Velasco from Jeddah. Yan. Look at that. Ganda-ganda ng ating salad. Just put that aside. And some onions. Ako, I like red onions in my salad. So, I just julienne. Yan. And I think luto na yung isang side ng ating chicken. Yan. Break that apart. Yan. Hello, Kay from Abu Dhabi. And a little bit of cheese. I'm using some aged cheddar. Yan, move it aside. Hanap ako ng space dito. And ito. Yung aged cheddar mo? Mga 64. Charot. Yan. So just some cheese. So when you eat it, parang sobrang happy ng ating salad. Look at that. Yan.
Like din tayo sa Instagram, Chef.
Oy, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Yan. Yan. And guys, don't forget to follow, like, share. Yan. Lalagay ko muna yan while balik rin natin chicken. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. TikTok, don't forget our TikTok. Meron na tayong 8,000 followers sa TikTok at hindi pa ako sumasayaw niyan, di ba? Wait kayo, abangan nyo yan. Yan, pag umabot yan ng, sasabihin na ilan, pag umabot ng 15,000. So, may dance challenge tayo pagdating ng 15,000 ng ating TikTok page. Clean up muna tayo ng konti. And let's do the dressing. So, very simple dressing yung gagawin natin. I have some lemon, ang kalating lemon, ilalagay ko. Yan. Squeeze it out. Lemon. So, very basic dressing. Di mo kailangan bumili ng ready-made. And when you make dressing, you just make enough for your salad. Huwag kayong gumawa ng sobra-sobrang dami kasi sayang naman. But you can also store it. No? There are some na salad dressings that can store for a few days. So, ito siya. So, remember, it's just like lemon. I'll just remove the seeds. Lemon. Olive oil. Look at that. I have some olive oil. This is around 1/4 cup of olive oil. 1 lemon. 1 tablespoon of mustard. I'm using Dijon mustard, but you can use any mustard that you like. Yan. So, siya lang yung mustard ko. Yan. And I have some honey. No? Wild honey. Yon. Pero guys, alam mo, when you buy honey, you be very careful, ha? Kasi ang dami kasi yung mga labels nagsasabing honey, pero actually, it's just honey-flavored syrup. So, pag sinasabing honey-flavored, hindi siya honey talaga. No? It's only honey-flavored. So, be careful kasi akala natin umiinom tayo ng something healthy para sa ating, di ba? May ubo tayo, may sakit, pero actually, it's dangerous. Hindi siya good for us. No, then we just whisk our dressing. And we season just with a little bit of salt and pepper again. Meron pa akong konting dried herbs, ilalagay ko din, ha. Yan. So, you can just be, no, this is a good base, and pwede ka na, bahala ka na ano yung gusto mong ilagay na flavor. You can put like orange juice, a little bit of calamansi, or whatever. So, eto na yung parang building block for creating a very nice vinaigrette, no? Parang vinaigrette siya, pero citrus siya. A citrus vinaigrette. Yan. Pepper, nice, very peppery flavor. Yan.
Sabi ni Joanne, watching from Northern Ireland.
Hello, Northern Ireland. Yan. Layo-layo na naabot ng Simpol. And I'm sure you'd like to do this there. No? Look at that. Tingnan mo, di na naghihiwalay yung ating oil and ating lemon because the honey and the mustard emulsify. So parang sasama niya yung oil and liquid. Yan. And let's look at our chicken. I think our chicken's almost done. Luto na yung ating chicken. Yan. Always. Tignan lang natin. Yeah, it's a little bit pink. 1 minute. That will do. And remember, one way of also checking your chicken is to press. Pag naging firm siya, you know it's already cooked, no? Ito siya medyo malambot pa, no? Because as the chicken cooks, medyo nagfo-firm yan eh. No? So, yan. And after cooking, we let it rest, no? It's very important when you're cooking meat, especially ganito, you let it rest, no? You let it rest for, let's say, a few minutes. Around 2 to 3 minutes. Kasi once you're cooking kasi, tumataas kasi yung temperature ng pagkain, di ba? And what happens that ang moisture dito sa ating chicken will convert into steam. So, nagiging steam yung ating juices. So, pag sinice natin siya agad, magsi-steam out yung ating juices. Kaya nagiging dry yung pagkain natin. So, after cooking, kailangan natin palamigin siya ng konti. Palamigin natin just enough na the steam condenses again and it becomes liquid again. So, when we slice it, juicy pa rin siya. Or else, kung hindi mamadaliin mo, hindi na magiging juicy yung ating dish. Yan. So, let's just let that rest for a while. And, I just like to plug, meron akong mga books available ito lahat sa Lazada and Shopee. Yung isang book ko is Rise to the Occasion. Ito maganda to if you want to teach your children to cook rice from kakanin to fried rice to other stuff, rice cakes. Ito siya, Rise to the Occasion, available in Lazada. Meron rin akong isang libro. It's Diskarte sa Kusina. This is my recent bestseller. Available in Lazada also. And lastly, itong award-winning book ko, Philippine Cookery from Heart to Platter, which won first place in the World Gourmand Awards. Yan. Then, meron pa akong ipa-plug. Meron tayong bagong channels para sa mga kids, teens, mga millennial, mga people who like fancy things. We have a new page. It's called Made Simpol, no? So, iba naman yung recipes natin doon sa Simpol. So, eto siya, mga pastries, mga desserts and all that. So, please follow us. Made Simple on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Yon, may bago din tayong channel. Yay! And
Sa Monday na yun. Sabihin mo.
ay, sa Monday na pala yon. Sa Monday na yon. Okay, so our breast has already rested. So I'm just going to cut it up. Yan. So remember, pag nilagyan mo ng raw food yung chopping board mo, huwag kang nag-slice ng cooked food where nalagyan ng raw food. Kasi magkakasakit tayo niyan, no? That's contamination. So our chicken breast is very nice and it's very juicy. So we just dice it up. Yan. Like that. Yan. And we put it here in our salad. Yan. Center natin yung chicken kasi siya yung bida natin for today. Yan. With our dressing. Diba, it's a salad but it's very hearty. Yan. And here it is, ang ating grilled chicken salad with our basic vinaigrette. Yan. Simple! Yan. Yan. Ready na ba kayo sa ating next recipe, guys? Yan. Then, i-announce natin, abangan nyo later on, i-announce natin yung ating winner ng ating My Simple version. And before that, I'll turn on my pan. So, gagawa tayo ng isang pasta dish, a very simple pasta dish na gamit natin na ating very available, very common natin na Spanish sardines, no? So, continuation to sa ating mga ayuda. And speaking of ayuda, I just like to thank, may ayuda tayo ngayon dito sa Simple Set. Meron tayong Milky Dust Donuts by Twinkle Saksamana. Thank you for sending it, di ba? May ayuda, so tumatanggap din kami ng ayuda dito. And of course, from my very good friend, yan, si Miss Cherry, si Chef Cherry Manuel, Casa Manuela. Ito sobrang sarap ng kanyang empanada, no? Available siya, just look for their pages. Ito siya, may nakain ako dito na empanada made with excelente ham. Di ba social empanada pero palaman niya excelente ham. Yan, empanadang pangmayaman pero affordable siya. Subukan niyo yan, ha? Yan. So simulan natin, I'm heating my pan and when we eat pasta, laging sinasabi, oh, dapat may Parmesan cheese. Di ba yun ang sinasabi? Eh, paano kung wala? Eh, wala nga eh. Wala nga eh. Pagpipilit mo. So, meron akong recipe for you that will create some sort of like a replacement to your hinahanap nyo na Parmesan cheese na on a budget. So, this is what we're going to do. Very simple recipe. Ito yung magiging topping natin. Melt some butter. This is around 2 tablespoons of butter. I have some garlic. I chop some garlic. Ito siya, around 2 tablespoons of garlic. And I saute. Yan. Saute very nicely. Yan. Hello, Clara from Guam. I miss Guam. Yan.
Hi daw, sabi ni Maria from Basilan.
Uy! Hello from Basilan. Yan. Maria from Basilan. And we put breadcrumbs. Tingnan mo, ha? Breadcrumbs. We saute our breadcrumbs with our butter and garlic. Yan, look at that, ha? So, tingnan mo, nagmumukha na siyang parang Parmesan cheese. And we season with a little bit of salt and pepper.
Sabi ni Joanna from Minaling, Pampanga, ang sasarap po ng niluto ninyo. Very simple pa.
Thank you! Yan.
Sabi ni Marichu, kitang-kita ang passion mo sa cooking.
Fashion. Woo! Yeah, dapat mag-fashion show ako. Yan. Yan. So, salt, pepper. Lagyan ko ng konting herbs ko. Ito, gamit ko dito dried basil. Kasi yung gamit ko kanina dried basil. I just add that. I get a little bit of fresh parsley. Ang bango na dito, no? So, ito siya even if you don't have your Parmesan cheese. This is a very good alternative. Yan.
Lagi mo yung tatanong saan doon nakakabili ng mga dried herbs.
Marami naman siya sa grocery, no? Lahat ng mga ginagamit natin dito sa Simpol, available siya sa ating mga regular groceries and sa palengke. Yan, no? We're just toasting that. Yan. At alam mo, yung mga linuluto natin dito sa Simpol, kinakain talaga namin. Kaya hindi rin kami na parang just doing any crazy stuff. Kasi ayaw din namin magsayang ng food eh. No? So, look at that. It's very nice. So, parang when you put this as a topping later on sa ating pasta, nagmumukha siyang merong Parmesan cheese. And a good secret also when you're doing pesto, if you don't have nuts, di ba, sometimes, kailangan mo ng pine nuts or whatever, just use this for your pesto. You blend it with oil and your fresh basil, and you have your pesto. No? Yan. Especially for people na allergic sa nuts. Yan. Di ba, kayang-kaya nyo at home to, at saka, I think it's very cheap to do this. Yan. Yan. Using the same pan, meron ako ditong oil from the Spanish sardines. Drizzle ko lang siya. And I have my, huwag na natin pahirapan, meron akong cherry tomatoes. I just add a bit of garlic. More garlic. Add my cherry tomatoes. Just half my cherry tomatoes. Look at that, guys. If you don't have cherry tomatoes, just use regular tomatoes. It doesn't matter. Yan. And always, guys, itong mga recipes natin are just inspirations for you. Mag-adjust kayo kung ano available sa inyo, ano yung budget nyo. Walang rules, hindi natin pinagpipilit yung pinanggagawa natin. Pero we hope to inspire you to cook at home na let's not be constricted by so many rules, no? Na eto yung kasi ganito, kasi sabi ni, hindi ganyan. Importante makakain ng masarap yung mga kapamilya natin. Yan.
Pwede raw ba tinapa gamitin dyan?
Ay, oh my God, tinapa is a very good idea. Yan. Tinapa with tahong. That's gonna be very nice. Just saute that a bit. Yan.
Pwede ba din Spanish sardines?
Pwede naman. Pwede tuna. Tuna in oil. Look at that, guys. We just want to parang soften our tomatoes a little bit. And ilalagay na natin yung ating sardines. And we have our cooked pasta. We're just using regular spaghetti, cooked based on package instructions. And look at that. Yan. Sometimes kasi naghanap lang tayo ng simple dishes di ba? Pero even kahit may bisita ka, ito yung i-serve mo, parang pangbongga na ng dating, di ba? Yan. So, this one with the salads, a perfect meal if you have some visitors at home. Di ba? Yan. And again, guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow, comment. We really enjoy it when you send us your messages kasi parang na-inspire kami maggawa ng more content for you. Yan.
Pag gusto mo yung recipe, i-upload natin.
Yung recipe natin, i-upload natin after, no? Apart from the video, ang recipe mismo naka-separate. Yan. Nasa caption siya, no? So a lot of people say, ang daming questions. Just look at the caption and all the details are there. Parsley, basil, kung anong meron. Kung wala, it's fine. Look at that, di ba? Sobrang nakakatakam. Then, ako gusto ko medyo konting kick ng ating recipe. So, we add a little bit of chili flakes. Toss our chili flakes. Yan. And we're ready to plate. Yan. Sobrang easy, guys. But before that, please, we're going to announce now our winner of our Week 10. No?
Mata mo muna, yung 10 week 10.
10 weeks tayo nagpa-promo and namimigay tayo ng Mass Flex Pan. My Simpol version Week 10 winner is, drumroll, si Kim Santos, di ba? Peri-peri chicken yung linuto niya at ang sabi niya sa atin, my simple version of peri chicken. Last week pa ako nag-iisip kung anong menu ang ihanda ko sa aking mga mahal sa buhay. Nakakaiba pero pasok pa rin sa panglasa ng Pinoy. Hindi ako nagkamali lutuin dahil lahat ng ingredients ay available sa kusina. Salamat ako kay Chef Tatong dahil madaling lutuin, pasok sa budget, more power to Simpol, have fun at the kitchen because it's simple. Thank you, Kim Santos. Yan. 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 And plate na tayo. Yan. Abangan nyo yung bagong promo with our new apron. Di ba? Pina-adjust ko lang yung size kasi pag ito yung size ko pinadala sa inyo, bedsheet siya. Hindi na siya apron. Pero papadala namin apron talaga. Yan. Yan. Okay, look at that. Oh. Ako natatakam na ako dito. Yan. And I put the tomatoes on top. Spread around. Yan, look at that. Yan. And remember our Parmesan cheese ko, no? Here, look at that. Woohoo! Yan. We will just sprinkle our Parmesan cheese kono on top. Yan. And, di ba happy? It's very happy. Very simple, very delicious, but also very elegant, no? So, if you have visitors, hindi tayo mapapahiya. So, don't forget our new channel, Made Simple, launching ngayon July 13. That's Monday. So again guys, thank you very much sa mga taong nagsusubaybay sa ating paboritong online show na may franchise, ang Simpol. This has been Chef Tatong. Thank you and good day to everyone.